everyone. Welcome. My name is Jane Shepard, and I'm a Director of Growth and Strategy on the Careers team here at Udacity. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you to Udacity Festival 2018. If you're following us on social, our hashtag is UFest18. So before we begin, we want to get a sense of who's online. So we have a quick poll that Karen's going to put up right now. Poll is going to ask where you're joining from as far as your Udacity history. So if you're a current nanodegree student, a graduate of a nanodegree program, or someone who's just interested in Udacity and not yet a student.
And while I pull up the poll, I would recommend typing it directly into chat so that we can all see. 1 second.
Germany, Huntsville, Alabama, India, California, Cairo, Sao Paulo, Iran, Canada, New Jersey, Washington State, Nigeria, Milwaukee, Fort Lauderdale. Oh my goodness. They're joining us from everywhere. This is exciting. St. Louis, Seattle, Morocco, Salem, Oregon, Dallas, Texas. Hi, y'all in Dallas. Lagos, Saudi Arabia, Bangladesh, David in the UK, India, Mexico, Rio de Janeiro, the Bay Area, Sri Lanka, New York City, Italy, Israel, Indonesia, Detroit, Los Angeles. Oh my goodness, this is exciting.
Yeah.
So we have almost 300 people, Russia, Chile, Thailand, Rutherford, New Jersey. So it is early morning. We're joining you from California. So for all of you who are joining from other parts of the world, either good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. So we're going to move past the poll because it looks like we're having some polling problems at the moment. So instead, I'd like to start by giving you a little history of Udacity. And for those of you who joined for the welcome session this morning, you've already seen this, but you can take a little break and remember what we said earlier. But basically, in 2011, two Stanford professors, Sebastian Thrun and Peter Norvig, decided to offer the artificial intelligence course that they were teaching in person at Stanford to the general public. They offered it online for free. Public response was incredible. They had to cap enrollment at 160,000 students from more than 190 different countries. They were shocked at the response they got. But the bigger surprise was yet to come, because 412 of these online students from the general public around the world performed better than the very best Stanford student. That was the humble beginning of this amazing Udacity community that is now a network of more than 50,000 alumni from nearly every country in the world. From Silicon Valley, we expanded Udacity offices, as you can see on this map, and we grew to open offices in Brazil, China, Egypt, Germany, India, and the United Arab Emirates to meet the growing needs of our students around the globe. From full-stack programmers to front-end to mobile, self-driving cars, artificial intelligence, machine learning engineers, data scientists, digital marketers, blockchain developers, robotics engineers, and content marketers. You're all part of an amazing network of lifelong learners who believe that change is possible and who are actively making it happen in their lives and in their careers. Welcome to this Udacity movement. Let's change the world together. So let's move on and talk a little bit about what we're doing today. So the Udacity Festival 2018 is a worldwide celebration of you, the students and alums and prospective students that make up our global community and who have the audacity to create positive change. Whether you're a stay-at-home mom or dad, a retired veteran, a career changer, a graduate fresh out of school, we all share common values. We want to keep learning, we want careers we care about, and we work hard to make it happen. Udacity students are known for their grit and their determination to make change. So you're part of this global community of people with that same goal, that same tenacity, and that's what we're celebrating this weekend. We're here to tell you that you don't have to do it alone, because all of us together know more than any one of us does alone. So we ask that today you share generously, learn from each other's experience, and we'll all get to where we're going faster. So today's session is starting with this welcome, then we'll have the presentation from Neha, who I'll introduce in a moment. We'll go to some breakout sessions where we'll actually do those connections and talk to each other, and then we'll wrap up till our next session starts. So I'd like to kick off today's section, which is a deep dive into the School of Programming, and I'm thrilled that Neha Garg is with us. Neha is a product lead in the cybersecurity, blockchain, and in the School of Programming. So Neha, take it away.
Hello, everyone. I am Neha Garg, and I am part of School of Programming. And as you can tell from the name, School of Programming is a very broad category. We have programs right from web and mobile development to the more advanced technologies like blockchain. And I am thrilled to be here to talk to you about what we are doing in School of Programming and what are the trends we are seeing in this space. With that, as you can tell, so we are, Karen, next slide, please. So we are going to talk about 4 major trends today under School of Programming. One is Web 2.0 and mobile. Then we are going to talk about security, followed by blockchain, and then immersive experiences. As you can tell, blockchain is also Web 3.0. So very excited to share the details or the trends that we are seeing there. With that, Karen, if you go to the next slide, please. So before you know, as you can tell, like programming is a new language that everybody needs to know in today's world. Stephen Hawking put it the best, like whether you are looking to uncover some secrets of the universe or you're just trying to pursue a career, any career in today's world, you need to have some basic understanding of computer science and programming. And so with that mindset, I will talk about some of the trends that is happening in the programming world today. Kevin? Okay, so we'll start with Web 2.0 and mobile trends, which is the foundation of everything digital in today's world. So let's start with the web trends that we are seeing today. The trends on this slide are more specific to the US market, but I'll give you the stats on how you can extrapolate it for the global market as well. So right now, if you look at the data, currently there are around 163,000 jobs for web developers in US alone. And according to some stats, the jobs in the US are 10% of the global jobs. So if you extrapolate this data, so worldwide, they're close to 1.6 million web developer jobs. And I can tell you from my experience, that is a huge number. And not just that there are jobs which are such a large magnitude, but the growth rate for these jobs is humongous. These jobs every year are growing by 15% year over year. So if you want to become a web developer today, this is the best time to be a web developer across the world. And the median salary for a web developer this is a very entry-level data, is around 68,000 in the US. This stat would vary in different parts of the world, but this is the data for the US market. With that, when we talk about the web development, then what are the key frameworks, or what are the key most popular languages that you should be thinking about when you're thinking about this space? So let's start with the popular frameworks that we are seeing. According to the Stack Overflow developer survey, it seems like Node.js and Angular and React are the most popular framework in today's world. And when it comes to the languages, JavaScript. You all know this if you have done any kind of web development. JavaScript was popular 10 years back and it's popular today. So JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and SQL are the most popular languages that you see for web development in today's world. Next slide. So mobile development. So the question I always get asked is, iOS, if I have to learn about mobile development, where should I start? Should I start with iOS or should I start with Android? And the answer could vary widely based on what you're planning to do and how you're planning to do. Just from the data perspective, though, we see that there are more apps on Google Play today. There are more downloads on Google Play versus iOS currently. But if you are looking to develop, make more money from the apps that you're developing, then maybe iOS is a good bet. iOS, the revenue for the revenue that you get from the iOS apps today is much larger, is almost double that of what you get from the Android Play Store. But that being said, iOS is more popular in the US and in Europe, while Android is more popular in other countries such as India, Australia, and stuff. So you have to make your choice based on which platform what are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to achieve more number of downloads for the app that you are trying to build, or are you trying to make more money using the apps that you are building? Okay, so now that we have talked about the app development, one of the critical elements of making sure that your apps that you're building have a lifelong impact on the people for which you're building, you have to have that security mindset. And you have to make sure that the apps that you're building are secure, especially in today's world when it has become the necessity. So Karen, if you go to the next slide. So let's talk about why it is so critical that we think about security when we are building these apps. Just by some estimates, today the number and the complexity of the cyber attacks is increasing, and it would continue to increase because we are increasingly in a more interconnected world. According to some estimates, there would be $6 trillion cybercrime damage by 2021. That is a huge number. And also by 2020, almost 6 billion people would be at the risk of some kind of a cyber attack. So as you can see, because of the first two trends, the spending in this space is continuing to increase, because increasingly every big company or small company or a startup is thinking about how they can build more secure solutions, how they can make sure that their apps are not getting breached. That's why we would continue to see that there is such a huge spending increase in this security domain. So as you can see, the world is getting more complex. The number of attacks are increasing, but there are very few defenders. And we see that according to some data, there would be 1.8 million jobs which would be unfilled by 2022. So that means there is a huge demand for skilled cybersecurity professionals in today's market. And in US alone, that number would be around 500K. And everybody, I've been leading the effort on cybersecurity program here at Udacity, and I've talked to almost more than 100 professionals and 100 senior leaders across different companies who are looking for talent in this space. And the common theme that we hear is people are looking for some kind of talent which is more technical. There are a lot of talent in this space who are non-technical or who get some kind of certification which is non-technical, but that is not helping solve the need in today's world. So recruiters are more specifically looking for people with the technical skills. And also a lot of recruiters prefer some kind of a hands-on experience rather than some kind of a theoretical knowledge. So this is, if you are one of those people who want to go out and save the world from all the cyber attacks in today's world, then yes, cybersecurity is something that you should definitely look into. Not just for protecting it, but also like making sure that you have that mindset when you are building your apps and your programs. Blockchain. So blockchain, as you can see, is the latest trend everywhere. It is the hot topic. Everybody who knows about blockchain wants to learn more about blockchain, and people who don't know much about blockchain wants to really understand what blockchain is. So some people are claiming that it is Web 3.0 or Internet 2.0. So I am very excited about the fact that I am also leading the effort on blockchain here at Udacity. And I will share some of the data in the next slide. So blockchain technology, some people are comparing blockchain technology today to the internet of 1995. And this is one of the most fundamental technology that would actually impact every industry. It would become the new internet in next 5 to 10 years. So every blockchain would touch every industry, and the market for it would continue to grow. And these are by some estimates, because we're not talking about the Bitcoin here, but we're talking about the fundamental technology that is powering the Bitcoin today. So as you can see by some numbers, the value added by blockchain would be huge. By 2025, it would be around $176 billion. And it would continue to grow, this space would continue to grow by at least 62% year over year. So when it comes to the demand for the developers in this space, so right now, if you look at the data, there are around 14 job openings for every one blockchain developer that is out there. And a lot of people I know are looking for those blockchain developers who can go solve the problem or help them understand how they can incorporate blockchain in the current company. So if you look at Upwork today, this skill on blockchain is actually growing by 35,000%. Imagine that. Right now at Upwork, this is the #1 required skill. So not just in the traditional industries are looking for blockchain developers, it's also in the freelance world, the demand is huge for something like this. So as I mentioned, the demand for if you look at the trend for the blockchain jobs year over year, there is a huge spike that happened in the last year. And you can see that it is has reached the Zoom curve. It is just going up to reaching towards infinity. And where is the demand coming from? So we are looking at, if you look at where this major demand for the blockchain developer is coming from, it is coming from the cryptocurrency companies. It is coming from companies who are trying to build the next blockchain startups. And it was also coming from some of the traditional companies, Visa, Microsoft, JP Morgan. So those are big companies who are looking for talent in this space. And also freelance space is also full with blockchain opportunities, if you look very closely. And last but not least, let's talk about immersive experiences. Immersive experience today, which is more AR, virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality kind of a world. This has become the new digital interaction model. So in 2006, what was the multi-touch model? AR, VR has become that model today. As you can see that in this space, there continues to be an investment. Every big company is continuing to invest and improve the technology that exists in AR, VR space. So the data that is shown here is the investment that Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and Google and Facebook are making in this space year over year in different patents across different technologies. So the trend is going, you can see that the investment continues to be high, and even the big companies are looking to see how they can improve this technology. And this technology currently is not just for gaming, which is the first use case that came out of AR, VR, but people are now beginning to build real applications on these platforms. For example, on the left-hand side, if you see, this is an example of an app that Wayfair, which is a furniture retailer in the US, is doing. So they're building a mobile-enabled shopping where you can imagine how a particular piece of furniture would look like in your room. On the right-hand side, this is actually a patent that Amazon has recently filed using AR technology, where when you're shopping for Autopod on Amazon, you can actually see how that would fit into your cars or into your device, into your vehicles. So as you can see, the use case for AR and VR is moving away from games, but also into some real world applications. So I get this question a lot. People ask me, where are we with this technology? Where on the curve are we? Are we shipping the apps, the commercial apps right now, or are we pretty far behind? According to some experts, most of the development right now is still in the prototype phase, but there is a lot of work that is being done, and there is a lot of investment that is happening in this space. So most of the companies are still not shipping any kind of commercial product yet, but we are very, very close. And I'm not sure if you guys have heard, but Magic Leap is one such startup which is taking a lead in this space. So definitely check out Magic Leap and see what they are doing in this space as well. So that's all I have for you today.
Well, thank you, Neha. That was fascinating. We do have a couple of questions that have come in. So the first one is, why do you recommend a job as a web developer as opposed to other programming options?
Web developer is one of the fundamental skills that you would require for any kind of future job in this school of programming. So if you want to become a blockchain developer, you really have to understand what is the fundamental skills that are required for a web development that you can use for blockchain as well. So think of it as how you would need to know your alphabets before you can start reading sentences. Similarly, you would need to understand web development before you can take more advanced courses such as blockchain or on cybersecurity.
So build that strong foundation that you can build on and specialize in.
Yeah.
Awesome. We had another good question, which was, how do you think the economic conditions and the downturn might impact jobs in the web dev space?
I would actually imagine that it would not be much impacted by the downturn space, because now it has become the foundation skill that every company needs. The jobs are not going away. This technology, web development is being established and it is going to stay. People are now thinking what they can build on top of web. So I would almost imagine that even in downturn, this demand would continue to grow.
So a big part of getting jobs in this space is building like a network and learning from other people and like this, sharing ideas. We've had some questions about how Udacity supports you in exposing you to other more experienced developers, both through your nano degree and afterwards. Can you speak to maybe the new Student Hub experience and how people have an opportunity to learn from each other there?
Yeah, so one of the biggest benefits of Udacity is we connect you to the community right away. So right now, we have launched this new feature where the students across School of Programming can interact with each other. So under that, they can actually, somebody who's a beginner and who is taking a course such as Introduction to Programming can actually talk to a person who is taking a blockchain developer nano degree and learn from them that what are the skills that they need to become a blockchain developer, or what are the kind of projects that they do to become a blockchain developer. So we are encouraging more and more on that, and stay tuned. We actually have some very good things lined up for you. So maybe next time we do this, it would be a very different answer and hopefully a better one.
So I also have something to add to this one, because the alumni network, once you graduate, is a super powerful advantage that extends your nano degree experience and the value of your nano degree for the rest of your life. Because once you graduate, you are part of the Udacity Alumni Network. So if you check out the alumni portal, you'll see access to, we have a Slack group, we have a LinkedIn group, we have a Facebook group, and we have webinars like this and sessions all of the time that give access to each other, access to experts in the field, like Neha, experts to our industry partners, Udacity partners with industry partners throughout all of our nano degree programs. And you also have access to new learning opportunities. So it's really tough in the world of tech to keep up with all the changes, right? So things change at a very rapid pace. So being tied into this network that's based in Silicon Valley, but tied to the rest of the world is a really powerful benefit that everyone has.
Yeah.
So the other question, talking about up and coming technologies, is someone wanting to know about cybersecurity. Wanting to know, how can I learn more? Where do I get started? And I know you've got some exciting stuff happening in cybersecurity.
Yes.
So do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. So cybersecurity actually is a pretty exciting space. And Udacity just announced its cybersecurity course, which was launched in October 4th. So if you are looking to build your expertise in cybersecurity space, definitely go check out the cybersecurity channel, the nanodegree program that we have just launched. It is more focused on helping you develop more secure applications and programs on the cloud infrastructure, on the cloud. So it would give you a very broad set of skills that you can further use everywhere.
Awesome. So I know that there are an overwhelming array of resources across the web on learning web development. Someone has asked, how is Udacity different from all of those other options, and what makes Udacity a stronger choice if you really do want to get a job in web development?
Sure. So I think one of our distinguishing feature at Udacity is a focus on hands-on experience. So we make sure that you learn not just through looking at videos or looking at hearing somebody talk. We want to make sure that you practice the skills and you actually develop those skills. So we focus a lot on making sure that you get a ton of hands-on experience and that most of our projects are real world, which you can then go and show to your employers or go show to your friends and family, or even use that to build your own startups. So we collaborate a lot with our industry partners to make sure that whatever we are teaching is relevant to the industry and you get a ton of experience building those things.
That's awesome. Speaking about relevance and tying it to jobs, we had someone ask about your Wayfair example and whether there really are jobs in VR in web, because the person who asked is interested in both web development and VR and wondering if those jobs really are out there and what they look like.
Yeah, definitely. There are jobs which exist in AR, VR space right now. I don't have the stats on how many jobs are there off the top of my head, but I can follow up on that. But I can definitely say that given the investments that are going in this space, the jobs are going up, and it would continue to go up. Nobody can predict the future, but some people are saying that by 2020, AR, VR space would actually break out, and this would become a huge market by itself, almost like what we see for the front-end development technologies today.
Awesome. I know you talked about the foundations with web dev. Someone asked about cybersecurity and programming and how you merge the two together, at what point it's good to decide to specialize in one area or the other, and what that logical point is so you're able to leverage it into the best career.
That makes sense. That's a very good question. So as I mentioned, from all our conversations with the big companies, with the recruiters, with the senior leaders for cybersecurity, most of them are looking for people who have some kind of a technical skills. So when we developed our cybersecurity program, we wanted to make sure that we are catering to the needs so that our graduates have a job right there and they are in demand right after they take the cybersecurity nanodegree program. So with that in mind, our cybersecurity nanodegree program requires you to have some basic understanding of Python, Linux, and networking. So if you think that you have those programming skills, you can definitely take cybersecurity program today.
Awesome. So in leveraging these skills for jobs, we've had a lot of questions about portfolios, and actually some people online have actually shared their portfolios, which I love. Thank you all for being so into this and helping each other, which is what this whole event is about. But do you have any tips on what to include in a portfolio and how to choose the items for your portfolio that will make the most impact in the world of web dev and programming?
Yeah, so I would say that when you're thinking of portfolio, from my conversations with the recruiters and the companies, everybody love when you can show some kind of projects that you have worked, because that goes on to show how passionate you are about this space. And when you're thinking about what projects to include versus not, I would say more the merrier. So if you have 5 projects, definitely put all of them. But which one you decide to prioritize should be the one which mirrors some real world example. So if you're taking a web development course and you can show that you have built a Lyft-like app, or you have built, say, Twitter-like app, that would be, I would prioritize that over some non-real world examples.
Awesome. So we almost have to move over to the Zoom sessions and the breakout sessions, which you'll be thrilled. We have some awesome Zoom chat leaders for you. Before we leave though, Neha, what's one last thought you'd like to leave with all of the folks here who've joined about the world of programming and all of the amazing things you've talked about?
Yeah. So as you can say, the programming is the new language that everybody needs to know. And it is one of the most fascinating space which continues to evolve every day. I completed my undergrad in 2007. And right now I feel like I just have learned so much in last 10 years. That space, what I learned in my undergrad is completely different than what it is today. So given that how quickly the space evolved, I would encourage all of you to just be a lifelong learner and continue to learn, because that's how you would remain most updated.
That's a great message, because this community of Udacity is known as lifelong learners. So thank you for sharing, and thank you so much for sharing all of this today. And Karen, we'll turn it over to you now to introduce our awesome breakout session leads and give everyone a chance to start networking and talking to each other in person instead of just in the chats.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Neha. I think we really learned a lot from your trends, and thanks so much for joining.
Thank you.
I am very excited to try out our first ever breakout sessions for this global meetup for the School of Programming. And here's how it's going to work. So each breakout session will be led by a Udacian, and a Udacian who is either a staff member here or who is an alum. I'm going to introduce them, and then I'm going to break us into breakout sessions where you can see each other's faces, you can see each other's names, you can write into the chat just for your breakout session. And what this is about is really an opportunity to share your expertise, share your experience with each other. I think we've heard. Here are the rules of the road for these breakout sessions. So first, when you go into a breakout session, you'll see a pop-up that says you're being invited to join a breakout session, and you're gonna accept that first. Then once you're there, you can post to chat at any time, just as how you're posting to chat here. And when you do share, be sure that you're focused on sharing positive, actionable advice, right? Focus on what would be helpful for someone else who's a current student or someone else who's an alum to know. If you're not speaking, be sure that you mute your mic because it can get quite loud. And when you do speak, when you have an experience or a piece of advice to share, then unmute yourself and start by introducing yourself, your name, your nanodegree program, and your location. And if it ever gets to be too much, know that you can always go back to chat. As I mentioned earlier, we do have a few co-hosts or Udacians on the line who are staff or alums, and I am going to invite them to unmute themselves and give a quick hello so that you can see who's for that session. So in the room, I'm going to mute everyone again. Okay. We have Nate Ebel, we have David Harris, Lizzie Shipton, and George. And I think because there's quite a bit going on, you will meet them in your breakout sessions directly. And so if that is all good and clear for everyone, then what I'm going to do now is break us into breakout sessions. As I was saying, thank you so much for trying this experiment with us. And it's really our goal to connect you all with each other, to show that you all know so much that is valuable, not just for you, but to share with other students and to share with other alums, and that you're not alone in this work and that we want you to continue connecting. And so the question becomes, how do you do that? I want to highlight two different ways you can do that. So the first is through our alumni portal. For all the alums on the call, you can go to alumni.udacity.com. And what you'll find there are success stories of other alums. You'll find upcoming events. You'll find links to different webinars, links to join alumni Slack, alumni Facebook, and LinkedIn, and all of those different resources. And if you're a student, then you'll find Student Hub in the community channel on Student Hub right here in your nanodegree program. And that's where you can continue to network and continue to stay in touch with everyone. And so with that, we're going to close this session. And I hope that you'll join us for the next session starting in just a few minutes, which is called What to Say When You're Making a Complete Career Change. We'll be joined by two alums, Jamal and Shi, and they'll be sharing their stories of how they did that and how you can too. And because it's getting a bit close to time, we're going to do that. You can find the full schedule with all the links to join on udacityfestival.splashlat.com. And until then, hope to see you soon. Bye, everyone.